Welcome to the eCom Collab Club podcast, where e-commerce founders and operators share the mistakes that drained their cash, wasted their time, and nearly broke their brains, so you could avoid that pain.
Fucking great. No one ever listens to me.
Hosted by Adam Pearce, co-founder of the eCom Collab Club, and Blend Commerce, the Shopify CRO agency.
Hello guys, and welcome to today's eCom Collab Club podcast. Now today's guest is Peter Bollons. He's the head of e-commerce and growth at Slick Gorilla. Now Peter's responsible for growing a business that's doing more than 12 million a year online, managing 7-figure marketing budgets, and driving growth across multiple channels. But in all honesty, what caught my attention wasn't the size of the business, it was actually his mindset. And in an industry where everyone's chasing the next tool, the next dashboard, or just trying to make everything absolutely perfect, Peter is a big believer that sometimes 80% is enough. And because you're polishing version 17 of a landing page, your competitors have already launched, learned, and moved on. So today we're going to talk about perfectionism, decision-making, avoiding burnout, and how to build momentum without feeling like you're constantly drowning in work. And we'll welcome Peter right after this.
I would love to help you with a free 15-minute session to talk about you and your space and help you out.
While you're building your audience, High Level is building your business behind the scenes.
I would love to help you with a free 15-minute session.
Because when your audience grows, so do the messages. While you're creating, High Level's conversation AI keeps every new lead moving. The moment a follower reaches out, conversation AI is already responding, trained to know the details of your business, with your tone and style built in. Whether it's text messages, Instagram DMs, or even WhatsApp, Conversation AI learns your business, answers questions, and books appointments automatically. Let Conversation AI handle the day-to-day, so you have more time to be you.
Visit gohighlevel.com/ecom collab club for an extended free trial.
Peter, welcome back to the eCom Collab Club podcast.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. We were saying before, the last time you saw me, I had a lot more hair, and you very graciously sent me some wonderful Slick Gorilla products that, unfortunately, today I'm probably not going to be able to promote as well, am I?
No, it wasn't the last time I saw you. Your haircut was pretty traumatizing, or I remember rightly?
Yeah, I think obviously had something happen to me that's made me want to shave my hair, but hey, there we go. We're going to get back onto you now. Look. I said at the start of the show there about this kind of 80% thing and saying, look, 80% is good enough mindset. Did something happen to you? And where did that mindset come from your perspective?
I mean, yeah, my entire career has been based in scrappy startups. So I've never been in a corporate environment, never been in a large retailer. It's always been joining companies who are sort of 6 people in the office when you join. When you leave, there's sort of 60 plus people. And yeah, I think also the industry is changing. 10 years ago, an e-commerce manager changed banners, put in pixels, listed products. Now we're responsible for a lot more and expected to do it on a limited headcount. So yeah, it's my last role with a company called Rubber Road was again walking through the door and seeing a lot wrong and no one to help. So you just sort of get stuck in, hired to do just PPC, but you can see the website's not been optimized for the customer journey. Maybe something's broken at checkout. You have to fix it because no one else will. So yeah, I think it's a change in the industry, but also what my career just naturally evolved into, really.
And do you think, like from an e-commerce brand point of view, you mentioned that I've gonna have to wear those multiple hats and do different things. Would you say that I think generally in the industry, there is an underinvestment in people in the past few years? Or is it more the case that, look, the expectations have changed because of how the industry's grown?
I would say it's based just for me off of ending up in small companies where you have to be quite scrappy. Obviously, you can then end up with the opposite problem in large companies where there's too many people and projects get bottlenecked. and maybe an email flow takes 3 months to get signed off because it's got through a lot of people. So I think it's you get opposite difficulties or bottlenecks. Smaller companies, low headcount, everyone's got to be involved, which means stuff might get done a bit slower just because of people's backlog. But then in the corporate environment, lots of people want to sign it off, have their say. Branding want it to sign it off. Copywriting want to sign it off. I think it's just a real mix. And I can only come from the startup world, which is that it's just they don't have the money for the headcount needed, so you do as much as you possibly can.
And do you think, like, with the founders of Slick Gorilla, obviously you mentioned before we were talking that you guys are a pretty lean team in terms of the revenue you guys generate. Do you think there is do you think the expectation upon you guys as a team is then based also around that kind of 80% is enough mindset? So do they share that mindset the same as obviously you do?
Yeah, it's more kind of let's get it done, let's get it going kind of mindset. So a good example is we do a lot of work on the London Underground in terms of advertising, and I've been in meetings where it's a deadline is approaching. Let's sign off these assets and get them in. Maybe you could spend a week agonizing over the copy of the advert, or let's just get something where we're happy with it and get it out the door. We've got some new ambassadors on the way, and the content arrives mid this week, and we need it to go live next Monday for a key date next weekend. I can't share more than that. It's last minute, but it works. I think the brand is showing that we can be very flexible and very reactive and still make it work.
Because on this kind of note around, I suppose it's perfectionism, really. Look, you've obviously spoken at eCom Cloud Club as well, and we have a lot of kind of smaller, younger brands who are there. I feel like at the moment with the smaller businesses and maybe the ones that are kind of in that startup phase, with everything that we are being fed, from an AI tool this and AI tool that, there seems to be this kind of growing expectation of perfectionism. Do you think that perfectionism is still generally a problem in e-commerce across the whole scope of businesses that are selling online?
I think perfectionism has its place. So in the luxury high end, I think where every detail matters, every touch point matters, it really does. But I think overall, from what I've seen, is people get hung up on unimportant details, and that really, I think, puts a kind of a strangle on the business. I can speak from experience in my previous role before Slick Gorilla, where I was at a furniture retailer, and nothing ever got done. Flow sat undone for months because there was such minute details being put into the copy of an email, the letter spacing, the spacing between lines, and then what would happen is nothing would ever get done. And I think people need to accept that it's never going to, you should accept the perfect is the enemy of good. And that those line gaps aren't going to matter versus getting that email out there. And I think especially founders who are very much more really gatekeepers of the brand, that's where you can see the bottleneck is they want everything to be perfect and then it doesn't happen. And yeah, that's where I think when people really care about the brand, it can be quite a problem.
I mean, it's something, I guess, in my, from a CRO point of view, that we come across quite a lot, because, ultimately with CRO, with an agency hat on, everything that we're doing needs to be quite rapid in terms of both, obviously, sign off, testing, implementation. My experience is, I think, particularly the retailers and brands that have come from a traditional retail setting, and there is probably more brand equity involved, I think those are the ones that tend to have the bigger problems. And I think, look, if I'm really honest, I think particularly British brands really struggle with that more so than Americans. Do you think that the kind of that, when you come from a traditional retail background where, if you make a cock up with a billboard, you're screwed, do you think, is that part of the issue? And do you think the kind of D2C brands maybe don't have as much of that sort of, previous pressure that's on them?
I think it depends where you've hired from. I think if you hire people who've come from a really like strict corporate background, especially within maybe the marketing sort of branding side, they may struggle to then adapt to a fast moving D2C environment where it doesn't need to be perfect. We need to get it out the door. And I've seen it happen a lot where people come in from really corporate environments and they're just not cut out for the madness that is scaling or startups. But it also goes the other way. I wouldn't right now survive if I stepped into a 100-year-old corporate company that is very, very picky about its brand. But you've also got to protect your brand. So I understand it. And in a previous company, I worked a lot with IP owners in the gaming and movie industry, and they're very, very picky and very, very protective of their brand, but it's completely justified. But also means that you can't be as reactive. Maybe a character goes viral in a game. You can't be as reactive to get that out the door because of the sign-off process for everything that's attached to it. Yeah, I think it really depends who you're hiring and if they can make that transition to be a bit more kind of like, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose on the flip side, with thinking about from a D2C perspective, do you think there is anything that kind of D2C brands often maybe go too quickly on and kind of rush through that maybe they should take a little bit more time on? Is there anything that you kind of think could, with a kind of a flip side of it on?
Nothing comes immediately to mind. Maybe not rushing. We had an incident with some, we do a free trial pack, and the envelope, we didn't test through the post first. And there was a slight issue with what happened to that envelope. So, in that instance, it was a bit detrimental to move so quickly. If we'd had maybe a little bit extra time and a little bit extra resources, we could have properly tested how it got dispatched, how it looked. There was a problem with our old 3PL partner with it. So yeah, there are issues, but in the grand scheme of it, we speed running it has far more benefits, and a few things break on the way. But overall, it seems to work for us, is being so quick and agile and reactive.
Because I guess it's like a volume play really here, isn't it? In terms of traditional retail, the speed at which things moves and the volume of things that you can do as a D2C brand is probably very different. Yeah. And I was going to say, sort of like in terms of sort of, with Slick Gorilla, was there anything that you can think of in the past few years where you've launched and it wasn't perfect, but at the same time end up being completely bang on the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, a big one for us was introducing tiered discounts in terms of we do it at singular SKU level instead of doing it across the range. And if you add two items, you get 10% off, and then 3 or more, you get 15. We do it at single SKU level. But obviously with Shopify, you can find an app for it, get it embedded, and then just a bit of CSS to get the right fonts and the right colors in. That was massive for us. And it took me maybe an hour to implement, and it's only taking that long because I have to do it 3 times over. So we have 3 different Shopify sites per territory instead of using markets. And that was massive for us. It was obviously increases our AOV, but also overall it made up an additional 8% of revenue now. And that was an hour. And again, it wasn't how I saw it in my mind, how it looked from the front end perspective. It works. Okay, maybe we can tweak it, and it maybe can get, a couple of extra conversions a day, but off the bat, after an hour of integration, it works. And that was really big for us in terms of just increasing our AOV and getting general revenue up.
Absolutely. I'm going to kind of get on a bit of a side street here. You mentioned having singular sites there versus markets, and obviously a lot of people listening to this, are generally Shopify brands or Shopify people. Is there a reason why you've opted to not go for markets, rather than obviously opposed to then obviously having the separate sites in each territory?
It was purely the system I inherited. And also before I started the business, they had tried markets, and something had gone wrong, and the US market really, really dropped off. There was something that hadn't been set up correctly. And at the moment, we're seeing really strong growth across all territories, and I'm not willing to rock that boat just yet. There's still a lot of projects that are more important and will move the needle versus playing with markets. The only thing that's being sacrificed is my time. You're having to do banner change 3 times, list of product 3 times. Yeah, for now, again, 80% is good enough. It works.
I was going to say it plays back into your mindset, doesn't it?
I'm not going to put myself through that just yet. There's been a lot of other things we've had to fix and are still fixing at the moment.
I'm just going to pause for a second here. Chelsea had a question for you, Peter. Saying that she would love to know the app that you use for that.
Yeah, it's called Kaching or Kaching, one of the others. Ka and then Ching, or Ker and then Ching. One of those will do it. And yeah, that's integrated on all of our sites. We also then did a project with Stay AI, where we've then introduced Kaching mixed with their app for our subscriptions, so they work together. So we've got tiered mixed with subscriptions as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Chelsea, question answered. So Peter, looking, again at your role, and again, it was really good to catch up before we went on air, because you were talking about the fact that, look, you have a lot of things to juggle, sort of revenue, paid media growth, and you don't have that enormous team that maybe some people looking at the brand would assume. How do you stop yourself from trying to do everything? And I know recently you've had to learn this probably, but delegating, was that something that you found easy, or are you having to learn ways of sort of letting go?
In terms of my to-do list, it's at this point looking at it. I have like my project, you have your project management board on like Trello, for example, and just deciding what is the most business important project I could do right now. And it's not just from a perspective of revenue. I also have to take into consideration legal. So obviously, as a lot of people probably know, there's lots of issues out in the US in terms of accessibility lawsuits. You've got GDPR, again, that's still a work in progress. I've also oversee the customer service team as well. So there could be something that comes up on their end that we realize is a huge problem. Again, lots of complaints with counterfeit listings on eBay. So we've got issues with counterfeit products coming out of China. So I don't just have to analyze what's important to Shopify, I have to analyze what's important to the business overall, and not just looking at new customer acquisition, but I'm looking at customer service from a perspective of what is going wrong that is going to ruin our returning customer rate. So, and again, counterfeit listings. So it's really difficult, and it's just juggling what I think could be a quick win that will have a big impact. So counterfeit listings was bringing on a software partner. They monitor certain marketplaces. I don't have to do anything. I just had to onboard them. They now do that. That will increase my revenue through my channels because people aren't buying knockoffs from eBay unknowingly, but also has a positive impact on the sales team who may be getting pushback from distributors in certain territories. Was a fairly quick win that helped everyone in the business. All numbers across the board then rise. And then, in terms of Shopify, it's really like, what could I hammer out in an hour that might make a difference? And delegating, I don't have a problem with, in terms of if you get the right staff who can be given the keys and run with it, that's amazing. Obviously, if you get juniors on, you just have to do a lot more kind of hand holding. But if you've done your recruitment properly, you can either hand the keys off and provide help in terms of giving them your business knowledge and experience to help them make decisions, or like just bounce ideas off each other. But in general, I prefer that people can just work on their department because I've hired them because they know more than me. There's no ego to say that I know more than them. And then, with junior staff, if you hire the right one who's got the right work ethic, it's just giving them the tools to succeed, really. But obviously that can come back and bite you if you give people the keys and they're not quite ready for that opportunity. Yeah,
tricky balance. One of the things also that is quite common, I think, from hearing you talk, is that this conversation about all the elements that you have to look at and being quite broad in terms of what you have to do
Mhm.
Is if you were kind of thinking about any apps or tools or processes that you'd say have saved you time or allowed you to manage things better, are there two or three things that kind of come to mind that you say, look, this thing has really helped me within my role of being able to manage certain elements of what I do?
I mean, I'm probably going to give a super generic answer that everyone's giving at the moment, but using Claude for reporting is huge now for me. I'm now able to provide more data than I ever could in far less time. Obviously, you can pull in a lot of data naturally with MCP, like Klaviyo comes straight into Claude. I think Meta now pulls in as well. Then we use Porter metrics to pull in anything else, and that's huge now. Myself and a recent new team member are using it for our weekly reports for company-wide presentations. And that's now turned what would be maybe 30 minutes, an hour of data gathering. I now have it teed up that it's a 30-second prompt on a Monday. And I think that's just the main one that's really, reporting has always been in a bottleneck. And you had Looker Studio before, but you still had to build it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was the route I was going down till I started working in Claude. And I think I know you're seeing it everywhere and it's that buzzword, but it probably is for a reason.
Yeah, and I think, look, ultimately what I like about your answer there is that ultimately the stuff that is admin heavy tends to be the stuff that is really the killer of time. And there's lots of whichever social media platform you use, there seems to be a lot of people talking about or promoting certain tools that can make your ads look great, whatever it might be. But actually, that side of things isn't the place I think that most people need to start. It is more of getting the boring stuff out of the way, the administration side of the way, to then free yourself up more so. And look, although I'm an agency, that's the approach that we've taken with it too, is that let's get rid of that time and then we can focus on the more flashier front end stuff as obviously then time progresses. Which I think should be done.
It's I mean, Claude doesn't just save on reporting. Obviously I do a lot of dev work through it now, which beforehand was writing a brief for the developers, getting it back, running my own QA. Probably have to send it back because there might be a device or a browser on a certain device that doesn't work, they might not have tested for. Now I can go into Claude and have it in a minute. Okay, it's not going to be perfect first time around, but it'll be perfect probably within an hour, and that section is live within an hour. It's huge, but obviously it's AI is detrimental to probably the job market, but I've got to use the tools that are given to me at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, look, in a way, a lot of people have talked about this particular point, but I think at the same time, there seems to be a lot of realigning people's roles in terms of, okay, they're still there, but they're doing different things now. Yes, there's always going to be an element where technology does reduce headcounts you need, but at the same time, there's definitely, I think, been a shift of what people do and the roles that are there. On that note, though, just for anyone listening that maybe is thinking about obviously using Claude for reporting or within your role, was that something that you just basically, excuse my French here, fuck around and found out with? Or was it something where you'd found a really good resource or, someone talking about using it that you got into it? How did you sort of, I guess, start to learn that and then implement it?
Self-taught. Just you see it bounded around, you kind of maybe have a little search on Google, watch a YouTube video and see like what it's capable of, and then just go down the rabbit hole. My entire career is self-taught. I've not had any eCom or marketing people to kind of work with and learn from. I have people that I've learned, like MDs I've worked with that I learned a lot from, but in terms of Shopify and stuff, you just kind of get in there and get your hands dirty and play around, you'll figure it out.
And allow yourself, I suppose, the time to do it as well, because I think sometimes that seems to be a bit of an excuse, I think, from a lot of people with anything AI related, is I don't have the time to do it, but you need to make that time because the investment is 100% worth it, even if you're improving the process by 5%, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what's fantastic is if I'm in Claude and I don't know how to do something, I ask Claude.
Yeah.
So, learning how to create a skill off the back of our branding guidelines, I just asked Claude, how do I make a skill that for my brand guidelines? Tweaked it till it was done, and now that's saved. So the answer's there. It's not like before where you had to find the FAQ and read until you found what you wanted. It's the answers are right there. You just got to learn to search for it.
Yeah, shifting through endless blogs. Those days are definitely gone.
Yeah, I think the key to
or forums.
e-commerce manager is your ability to Google things correctly. I think was the key not that long ago.
Absolutely, love it. Talking about e-commerce businesses, if you were sat with the founder tomorrow and they say, "Well, look, I need to start spending so much time worrying about certain things," what would be the thing that you would tell them to drop?
I think I wouldn't know exactly what to tell them to drop, but what I would say is if you took your to-do list and looked at if you disappeared for 3 months, what of those things would break, then maybe focus on them. But again, it's also not, I think being obsessed with things that might not work, like move the needle, is a big problem. So Slick Gorilla, for example, is 95% mobile traffic. As an e-commerce manager, I don't think we are ever 100% happy with our sites. We're always tweaking. We're looking at it so much, we find things we don't like. Our desktop site is not where I'd like it to be. But if I'm talking about 5% of my traffic is desktop, while I might not like what I'm seeing, there's a lot more work I would like to do. I can't prioritize that. I need to prioritize mobile. And I think that's one thing I think people get really bogged down in, is it's got to be absolutely perfect everywhere. Obviously, I think a big one is email. Every, Outlook, Gmail, it all looks different, and everyone's trying to optimize to the line for all of these different inbox providers, and you can't. And then you've got light mode, dark mode. It's incredibly difficult. And yeah, I think the other thing I've seen a lot is day-to-day fluctuations, where you might do on average $3,000 a day, and then you're trending 20% down one day, and it's you get very concerned and you're freaking out. Whereas my perspective is check everything's running, but see how the trend is going for a couple of days. And we'll see that here all the time. We'll have a down day, and then the next day is doing 150% of what a normal day looks like. I think it's just panic is a big one as well, and just relax a little bit. It's fine.
So no, I haven't just gone and done a quick outfit change, which is much as I'd like to, but this is an ad. Now, as many of you know, when I'm not interviewing e-commerce legends, like on this very show today, I am running Blend Commerce, the CRO Shopify agency. And really over the past 10 or so years, we have been working with over 350 Shopify brands and helping them get customers to buy more, buy now, and buy again. So if you are a brand that is looking at how to make real impact on your Shopify store by increasing your revenue per session, well, we're the guys to talk to. And recently, we've just been crowned the Global CRO Agents of the Year 2026. Now, if you want to know exactly where you guys are from perspective of buy now, buy more, and buy again, all you need to do is go ahead to blendcommerce.com and click on the top right-hand corner where you will see a link to CRO benchmarks. In there, you can enter some details and we'll tell you exactly where you are and what you need to do.
So, Peter, if we think about this kind of idea that you're talking about before with kind of 30-day wins, I like this because there was always this, 5-year strategy, 10-year strategy. Sometimes it feels like you kind of just need a win that month. What sort of things should you be looking at within that 30-day window first?
Yeah, I mean, a really good example was when I was doing some consulting for a jewelry brand, like quite a small one. And first thing I noticed is you had to be logged in or create an account to check out, and they are not at that level as a brand to get away with that. So first thing is just remove that blocker to check out. So that was a really quick small win. Another one, Slick Gorilla, the reporting was all over the place in terms of pixel setup. So all the ad platforms weren't getting adequate data. We use Elevar, and Elevar have an option to pay for them to implement it. So that's quite a quick one that went in that has an immediate impact in terms of being able to see what ads were performing properly, what accounts were actually driving the most revenue. But outside of that, there was 4 things I did in the first 30 days here that now account for about 40% of our revenue on an average month. So first one is cross sells or post-purchase cross sells. Again, this isn't groundbreaking news, but I chose an app partner who do a lot of the setup for you in terms of branding. They install the widgets where you want them. You just review it and turn it on. So cross sells and checkout are massive for us. We sell an additional sort of 200 to 300 combs a month just through checkout. These cross sales now make up about 15% of our revenue a month. And during Q4, we sold an additional 4,000 units just through checkout deals or pop-ups. When you add to cart of a certain product, we will kind of give you the matching accessory or styling product or care product. Virtual bundles, you can do them through Shopify. Again, the data's all there for you. In fact, ask Claude or ask the AI chatbot in Shopify. Put together your 2 or 3 most frequently bought together SKUs in an easy to add to your basket bundle. That's now an additional 10% of our revenue is those bundles. And one thing I've noticed that is really helpful with that is it's really safe when integrating with your 3PL. A lot of 3PL partners we've just changed and they were freaking out about virtual bundles, but the way obviously Shopify works is it doesn't add a third kind of parent to the bundle. Yeah. It just feeds through the 2 child SKUs. Whereas we've had issues with
intact.
Yeah. Whereas when we tried to do something with our subscription model, they had to add a parent, throws the warehouse off. So Shopify virtual bundles is perfect. Already spoken about tiered and volume discounts. That's another 6 to 8% of revenue. And then build a bundle. So we have an app that I set up in about an afternoon, and it was kind of more, we do it as like build your routine. So we now have skin, so you can do your styling, your care, your skin, gets your AOV up. And again, that's another sort of 5 to 8% of revenue comes through that app. And you can do all of those in 30 days as far as
brilliant. And I hope folks were listening, because that was great to hear those things. On that note of obviously choosing those apps, and obviously you mentioned obviously Claude earlier on from an AI perspective, there's a lot obviously thrown at you, and I would imagine that your LinkedIn inbox is full of people trying to get you to download the latest app, wherever it might be. Mm-hmm. When you are kind of going through the process of thinking about what you need and what's generally useful, what is your decision-making process? Is it the fact that, look, you do a lot of research on that particular item and then eventually you put it on? Do you test things on a shorter period? Like what you know, how do you, what's your sort of thought process for when you decide what you could download or put onto the site out of the thousands of apps and tools that are there?
A lot of research on other brands. Obviously you can, with the correct Chrome extensions, you can have a snoop at what front end apps they have loading. It's not foolproof, but you can normally find quite a few good ideas. So for example, if you wanted to do a quiz, you can normally find a lot of brands are doing quizzes now. It's quite normal for that. Go and have a look at the quizzes you like, see if you can snoop on the front end of what they're using, maybe have a look. And if you use Chrome, you can obviously then look at the code of the page you're looking at, maybe find a bit of an idea of what they're using. If not, Shopify apps, and I will just start at kind of best reviewed downwards, install them. I normally have a very clear idea of what I'm trying to achieve. And after 20-30 minutes, I'll know if I can achieve it or not. But yeah, if you can find what other people are using and you like the way it looks and that's going to achieve what you wanted, that's a really, really, really good starting point. So that's normally where I go. Just start from there, really.
Fantastic. Look, lots of solid practical advice there. So thank you very much. And I want to end with a question today, which is, I guess, look, bit more as forward looking. We've talked about the past and the present. If obviously we were going to have you back in 12 months' time, which I hope we can do, what would have to happen within Slick Gorilla and in terms of your role to say to me, look, we've had a really bloody good year?
A big focus for us, there's 2 things, is growth in the US and growth in TikTok Shop in the UK. So I think it would be really seeing TikTok Shop really take off. There's so much potential for us as a brand there. We have a lot of brand equity outside of TikTok, so we're not new to consumers on TikTok. It's just really getting to grips with the ecosystem on TikTok. It's obviously quite new for everyone. Even agencies who specialize in it, they've only got a couple of years experience at this point as well. So that's a big one for me, and we're making a lot of plans at the moment. Every month is our best month on record on TikTok, so it's going in the right direction. And in terms of US, it's such a huge market that we just really want to get our foot in the door there. We're still doing really well there. Growth in the US is up sort of 60% on Shopify year on year, but there's so much more. We're in CVS, but you want to be in Target, Walmart if you could. And yeah, that's the two main things. That's the really big focus for me now is getting them nailed down.
Excellent. Well, look, Peter, thank you very much. And look, if people want to find out more about Slick Gorilla or maybe connect with you, what should they do? Where should they go?
Obviously, slickgorilla.co.uk or .com, depending where you are. And the only social media I have is LinkedIn. So feel free to add me on LinkedIn and ask any questions. I really enjoy helping like small business founders with any queries they have on Shopify or digital marketing in general.
Excellent. Well, look, Peter, as I say, I've loved today because it's been great to, I guess, dig into more about, I guess, kind of the role of working as an e-commerce leader. And I think secondly, that the kind of practical side that you've given has been brilliant. So thank you very much for sharing that. And look, again, great to have you on the show, and we hope to see you on stage and back here too soon.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
No, an absolute pleasure. And guys, look, a massive thank you to you as well for tuning in. If you have liked what you've listened to today, do give us a like or review on the listening platform of your choice. And we'll be here again, same time next week with the eCom Collab Club podcast. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the eCom Collab Club podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and join our community at ecomcollabclub.com/community.